This is my Twitter pitch meeting right here. Hey guys, what if we made a web page but designed it as a panic attack?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah. What if it's a web page and as you look at it, a pneumatic arm comes out from your computer and just pure epinephrine. Just. All right. I'm Cal Newport. I'm here with Jamie Kilstein for the very first installment in a new show we're trying that is called Cal and Jamie Explain the Internet. I will briefly summarize the premise here, and then Jamie, I'm going to ask you to try to explain to the audience why in the hell we would do this.
Yeah.
Here's the premise.
I'll be figuring it out while you talk right now.
You have like 30 seconds to figure this out. Okay, so the very well thought through premise that everyone thinks is a good idea is that I'm someone who sort of famously has never had a social media account, so I really often don't know what's going on in the world of the internet. Jamie somewhat famously used to be a big user of social media, but as many of his fans know, has been really trying hard in recent months and years to use that much less, which makes Jamie and I at this moment two of the worst people in the world to try to explain to you trends on the internet. So that is the premise of the show. We had my intrepid podcast producer, Jesse, pull a collection of 5 articles, videos, or tweets that are big on the internet in the last week. He told me he was using Twitter trends, TikTok trends, and a program called TubeBuddy, which looks at what's trending on YouTube to try to figure out what are 5 things that normal internet users have almost certainly heard about. Jamie and I almost certainly know very little about it, but we will still try nonetheless to explain to you what we think is going on or how we think people are reacting. So Jamie, why are we doing this?
Well, we are doing this for a couple reasons. Number one, it's very funny to maybe only us. Number two, nothing in our friendship makes me laugh harder than when I would try to explain to Cal, like very online TM stuff where I'm like, hey, did you read about Glenn Greenwald? And Cal's like, no, I have a family and I'm happy. And I'm like, oh, what's that like? And then, so I think it'll be very fun. I think it'll be very funny. I also think for all of you listening who have read Cal's work, listened to Cal's podcast, or trying to get off social media less, I think hearing some of the dumb stuff that we're probably going to cover may be the nail in the coffin and may solidify it for you. And if not, maybe Cal and I can give some non-tribalized echo chamber takes on important issues, and maybe we'll accidentally stumble upon some really good stuff that you're not going to find on Twitter when everyone's just calling each other either a cuck or Nazi. And then the final reason, selfishly, I still have to be on social media to promote my podcast a little bit, so I still post clips and stuff like that. I don't get into fights anymore, but I eventually would like to move out into the woods with my girlfriend and never see a computer again. So I'm hoping that whatever is trending on TikTok today or in future episodes will drive me to become just an armed father in the middle of the forest,
and not a Nazi cuck.
Not a Nazi cuck. The worst kind of Nazis.
Cuckolded Nazis are the worst. And see, this is how you know I am a professor, not internet user. I use the full term, cuckolded. All right, Jamie, I'm loading number 1. All
right.
We have not seen these.
We have not seen any of these. We took this very seriously.
Yes, took this very seriously. Okay, I'm going to click on a button here. We're going to share our first thing that was trending on the internet in the last week. Boom, share. All right, we see a headline, Christopher Nolan recreated a nuclear weapon explosion without CGI. Jamie, what do you think is going on here?
Oh, no. Well, number one, I truly have not seen this. I have not seen this story without CGI. Something dangerous? Is it something dangerous?
Did he blow up a city? Is that possible?
I like the fact, I mean, this is the same year. Alec Baldwin shot a lady, right? With one gun. He shot a lady, and Christopher Nolan saw that and was like, "You know what? I'm gonna blow something up."
I see. You think Christopher Nolan is big timing Alec Baldwin by murdering hundreds of thousands of people?
This is probably the tamest story we're going to cover, and I accidentally made our opening probably the most offensive thing to come out.
You didn't say you thought it was a good idea.
I think it's a very bad idea.
Yeah, there we go. To be clear.
Yeah, to be clear. But also, I think anything post-Dark Knight of Christopher Nolan has been kind of underwhelming anyway. I'm not to sound like a hipster, I'm kind of a Memento guy.
You're talking to someone who saw Dunkirk in a 70mm projection, so I'm going to argue about that.
Okay.
All right, before we reveal here, though, let me just say 2 reasons why I like Chris Nolan.
Yes.
Number 1, I had some article somewhere that he doesn't use, email, I think. Yeah, he has an old flip. He's one of these guys. He's so focused on, I'm making these huge movies. All my attention's on that. I wrote an article about him a couple of years ago.
You're so true to brand. Where it's just the more of a hermit someone is, the more you're like, I'm in, baby.
And also, he got really mad. I think he broke relations with Warner Brothers when they started streaming all of their movie productions on HBO Max while they're in the theaters. And Nolan was like, I'm out of here. So he's old school.
Okay.
Let's be in a theater, not on a phone. So I like him. All right, what's really going on here?
I like that a lot.
All right, here's the reveal. I'll read this since this text might be small. He recreated the first nuclear weapon detonation. This is in his film Oppenheimer. I did hear about that. I'm a film geek about Robert Oppenheimer, who ran the Manhattan Project during World War II. The film, blah, blah, blah. Don't bury the lead here, guys. They're talking about all the actors in this. How did he do this explosion?
Come on.
Nolan has always favored practical effects over VFX. He blew up a real Boeing 747 for Tenet. Respect. So it's no... The bad news was it was an active Delta flight. But, you got to do what you got to do.
Hey, man, it's all for the art.
For the art.
That's why he doesn't have email or social media, so he can't be held accountable.
Exactly. He doesn't want to hear the trolls who are going to prioritize.
You killed a Delta flight of passengers.
It's like, I'm doing art, baby.
Make your own instead of being a commenter.
Oh, man, there's so much text here. So how did he do this? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It looks like he just blew up a big bomb.
Were people mad? I think what eventually we'll get to when we start getting these stories sent to us is I want to see people's reactions, right?
There are 0 comments on this article. All right, this is an example, I think, of good internet. Where it's here's a quirky, interesting thing that you probably wouldn't have heard about, but if you're an internet user, you might have come across this. This was trending on YouTube or something. You'd be like, oh, that's cool. He made a big explosion. It looks like a nuclear bomb. I'm giving this a sort of good internet thumbs up.
I think this is good internet, and this is going to be the difference between me and Cal as well. Is I am so used to, bad internet that I think I jumped in and made my little offensive joke just preparing. So, for example, I'm on a text thread right now that the beloved movie The Whale, Brendan Fraser's resurgence, standing ovation at all the film festivals. I guess Roxane Gay wrote a piece about it because something about fat people. And so I'm very used to, as I was part of back in the day, 10 years ago, I'm very used to outrage culture. Yeah. So when I see something that you might rate as good, oh, what a cool thing for a filmmaker to do. I'm just waiting for my old friends to be like, this is offensive to bombs. And yes. I'm like, I don't get it.
Nice beard, Nolan. You have a problem with faces. Yeah, I get it. So you're locked in. You're locked in on.
Yeah.
All right. I think this next one, I have it loaded here. This is a trending Twitter thread. So I think here we're going to maybe leave good internet. So let's see. I'm going to go back to share.
Yeah.
Go back to share. I'm going to click on it. Here we go.
We need theme songs for leaving good internet, just a kind of cryptic, rowing down the haunted river kind of old Disney theme.
Exactly.
Oh, it's my buddy Bari Weiss. This will definitely be bad.
All right, let's see here. Thread, the Twitter Files Part 2, Twitter's secret backlist. All right. Well, Jamie, Bari. Do you already know this story, or are you looking at this fresh?
I'm going to be honest with you. This is new Jamie. Old Jamie would have had so many takes on it. New Jamie looked at that. It's something she's doing with journalist Matt Taibbi, who I've also known for a while. And I just kind of go, good for them. And then I click out of it. I saw some people on both sides being outraged. And I barely Dude, I mean, this is probably one of the biggest stories right now, period. And I have just like, I'm rewatching Jack Ryan since season 3 is coming out and just living my best life.
So I've heard about, like, I know this is happening. I know that Elon Musk is releasing internal Twitter files to independent reporters. So I know about that. And I know that there's some stipulation that they have to post about it on Twitter.
I didn't even know that.
I don't know a lot of the details. Let's not read this whole thing, but here's point number 1 from this thread. By the way, can I just say, I wrote an article about Twitter for, this one I think was for Wired magazine, early in the pandemic. And I made this point. This is such a terrible platform for any sort of complex information. Like, look at this. Let's put all content aside. Look at the screen. This thread situation where you have like a couple sentences and you have to link to another thing with a couple sentences and number it. It's like, guys, websites exist, blogs exist. There has to be some way. It's crazy that this is like the number one way over the last 3 years that complex information is passed. Yeah, it's not like we haven't cracked the tech yet.
Yeah, this is my Twitter pitch meeting right here. Hey guys, what if we made a web page but designed it as a panic attack?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah. What if it's a web page and as you look at it, a pneumatic arm comes out from your computer and just pure epinephrine. Just. There we go.
Yeah. Well, and then on top of that, it's like the algorithms make it harder to see certain people. And, well, that's kind of what this is sort of about. So read whatever part you want. And
All right. So here's I'll read the first couple tweets, which again, I have to jump from tweet to tweet to read this. That's a tech issue. All right. A new Twitter Files investigation reveals that teams of Twitter employees build blacklist, prevent disfavored tweets from trending, and actively limit the visibility of entire accounts or even trending topics, all in secret without informing users. Here's one example. Take, for example, Stanford's Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. I do know who that is because I was a COVID nerd early in COVID, who argued that COVID lockdowns would harm children. Twitter secretly placed him on a trends blacklist, which prevented his tweets from trending. All right, so this is about secretly throttling people on Twitter. So what all right, that makes sense. First of all, what's your take on it? Second of all, how do you think people reacted to this? I'm sure reasonably.
Yeah, it's all bad. It's all bad.
All bad.
I think all of it. All of it's bad. Well, what's funny is, you know, there are a bunch of different like memes that go around about conspiracy theorists where it's like, hey, we've been right essentially the last couple years. And I hate to admit it, right? But there were a lot of people who were talking about shadow banning and soft banning and things like this. And a lot of them were on the right, and a lot of people on the left were calling them delusional, calling them conspiracy nuts, blah, blah, blah. I'm definitely shadow banned on Instagram, and I haven't posted a damn thing about the vaccine. I'm just like mental health and dogs and comedy. You know, that kind of get made fun of. And what Bari and Taibbi uncovered is like, no, there were actually memos from the government being like, hey, like to Twitter, to, you know, being like, hey, check out this guy. This is, you know, whatever. And a lot of the things they were posting at the time, I think that people thought were dangerous because we didn't know as much about COVID as we did now. So it was a lot of like anti-mask people. It was people who were skeptical about the vaccine. And so they were just like fucking shut it down. And yeah, I think that's bad. I think that we should have access to all information, and then we should be able to make decisions for ourselves. But what I would throw back to you though is in the way social media works on our brains and the way tribalism works and these algorithm works is that actually naive of me? And is it even possible to just, hey, give us information on both sides and we'll figure it out? Like, where do you draw the line, I guess, for this kind of like soft banning, shadow banning?
Yeah, which has happened to us, I'm sure. Like, why does everyone stop talking to me? Well, look, okay, I have a small scale and big scale take on this. I mean, small scale take, if you're going to run one of these platforms, you're going to have to make these type of decisions, right? Like, we've seen that. You look at 4chan, like 4chan had to start making some of those decisions, which led to 8chan, right? Like 8chan was people saying, you cucks over at 4chan. Am I using cucks right, by the way? Is that right?
Yeah, sure. Dude,
I know the Shakespearean reference, so I don't know if this is right.
There's no wrong way to use that word. It is the funniest word.
All right. So 4chan was just cucking along with a bunch of cucks, and they had a cucking policy. But anyways, you're going to have to do this, right? Like there's going to be cases where like, we don't want this on our platform. We have advertisers, right? And then the dividing line is always going to be hazy. So the fact that, Twitter is based in San Francisco. The number I saw is that 99% of their employees, according to public records, voted Democrat.
And the other 1% is Elon Musk.
And the other 1% was Elon Musk. Yeah. Or I think they have, what's his name? Milo in a cage somewhere. Is that the right name?
Yeah.
They kind of poke at him. They put tweets in front of him, and if he gets excited, they ban him. I think that's the one. But anyways, my point is like, okay, so how do you avoid them in that situation if you're just internally making decisions? To have an Overton window that's going to be just farther towards the farther left than the rest of the country. That seems unavoidable. Making moderation decisions are unavoidable. I mean, I don't know any answer to that in the small scale beyond, and this is what I thought Elon should have done, but it seems like he might be going crazy. What he should have done was just said, yes, we have to make these moderation decisions. We're just going to balance out who's on these committees so that like that Overton window is roughly centered. Like I said this in a podcast a couple weeks ago. The standard should be, if your mom would be kind of upset about something. Right. And I don't mean your mom in particular, but just like millennials moms, like people in their 70s would be upset. You're like, okay, let's be worried about it. So like things where you would have to be like pretty up on sort of cutting edge political ideology to understand something is offensive. Like that probably wouldn't fall into like a standard, like what ups and moms.
A couple things real quick. I think that one, I love you pointing out that Elon Musk is going crazy because that means his billions of dollars, all the businesses he runs, that's not what made him crazy. What made him crazy was a month on Twitter, and he just fucking completely went like cuckoo bananas.
That is, by the way, that is exactly what, and this is, I'm not talking out of school because this was during the episode. It's what Sam Harris told me. Sam knows Elon, and in my recent appearance on Sam's podcast, he told me on air, Twitter broke Elon's brain. But he actually says it's not him buying Twitter that broke his brain. He bought Twitter because Twitter had broken his brain. So he was so addicted to it.
It's the tweets.
That's why he bought Twitter. He spent $40 billion. It's like chasing that pure Coke in the 80s or something. Anyways, go on.
Dude, that's exactly what it is. Number two, I wanted to say that, the serious thing is, and I'm sure what's going to be great about this show is, just like when, you're listening to fucking Two Bears, One Cave, and they're like, what's that movie? And the fans are like at home screaming the movie. Like, I know what it is. People are screaming at us like, what is actually happening? Where this became even more problematic is, look, man, private companies have the right to choose who uses their platform. Where this got even crazier was the fact that there are memos from political administrations pretty much being like, hey, get this guy, go get this guy, shadow ban this. And now it's like, okay, well, now the government is censoring voices, and that's not good. And then the most important thing I was going to say is, Jesse, if you're listening and we're looking for short clips to post, please cut Cal saying cuckity cuck cuck or whatever that was. I wish I had the timestamps.
He's cutting as we speak. Great. All right, my final point on this before we move on to the next one is, and this is, I said a small scale point and a big scale point. It's a big scale point. When I wrote a piece for the New Yorker a little while ago about Elon when he was poised to take over Twitter. And basically my argument in that piece is what I still think my argument is here, which is the biggest issue is that all of you are paying so much attention to Twitter. Like, this is embarrassing professional reporters. Right. Like, how much you are so up in arms about someone taking over Twitter because Twitter is so ingrained in your livelihood. Your readers mainly aren't watching it. The public is your relatives aren't, but it's you and your peers. And it's so important to you and your livelihood that these little things make a difference. So if you're here on the political spectrum and the Overton window shifts here, this negatively affects your status within this weird digital tribe. So, I argued in that article, Twitter is not the public Times Square. It's the Coliseum. It's where people go to watch elites do battle. It's wildly entertaining, but it's not vital to democracy. So I argued this is the real solution to all of this. Just go do something else. And I would say
Yeah.
Let me count the number of people who agreed with me from media who took that seriously. Let me count it. That's zero.
Mm-hmm. Zero, right.
Zero.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all.
Did you
I'm
remember
not
to carry
popular
the
on this
zero?
topic.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and then
zero.
what happens is then the media reports it to, like, I talked to my dad and I was like, how's it going? And he's like, Elon Musk. And I was like, what is happening, man? I just wanted to know how your holidays were. And my dad's not on Twitter, but my dad is reading the amplified articles, making it seem like the biggest thing. So even people who aren't on social media are still having, to your point, having it fed to them like it is the most important thing because of the elites reporting it like it's the most important thing.
All right. Let's go on to what we got here. Number 3. All right. Oh, good. Now we're going back to good internet. See, we got there's a good alternation going here, which I appreciate.
Good.
All right, here we go. Here's the headline. U.S. scientists reach long-awaited nuclear fusion breakthrough. Sources say that's the good news. The bad news is the fusion breakthrough was figured out by Elon Musk. So that's the issue. Yeah.
That is the bad news. Well, I mean, there is this seems good. I feel.
Could you talk to us about the details, the quantum mechanical details of fusion, Jamie? Because I think the audience wants to hear about neutrinos.
You're breaking up. Everybody remember to follow me on Instagram. We'll see you next week. Yeah. Well, you know what's so funny, man? I know the left, and now I'm calling myself like a bleeding heart centrist. But even though we were supposed to be the party of science, there are some things that anytime it came up, we were sort of like, no. So like for me, my old social media addicted brain, I just see the word nuclear and I go, well, this is bad. This has got to be bad, right? Because everything, it should be long-awaited solar fusion breakthrough.
Interesting.
Because this is bad. So I would actually love for you to explain to me, as someone who knows nothing about this.
But can I just point out, this is again another great demonstration of what happens to the brain.
Yes.
When you are exposed a lot to social media. Because think about your reaction here.
Dumb brain.
Your reaction here is, what is the take that has to do with a tribal interaction with this? It didn't occur to me. I was thinking about the fact that there was one of these tomahawk. What do they call it? Tomahawk? No, it's like tomahawk. There's a name for these reactors. There's one near us growing up.
I thought because of this whole show, I thought you said tomahawk.
No, I just did there as a joke. It's like tomahawk, but not tomahawk. It's like a
tomahawk is like the very old school type of cucking.
Yeah, I think that's someone who tried to remove like offensive Native American names from a sports team.
Oh, I was
I'm trying to work backwards from the phrase. Yeah.
Got it. I was going to say the tomahawk is when the wife is having sex with her partner. He's just fetching water and like from like the well and coming back.
Right.
So he doesn't get to watch as much because he has chores.
I see. Yeah. All right. So I think this is good internet. This is good news. We don't have to get into the details. I know something about fusion because I'm a nerd.
Well, look, you're right. We don't have to get into the details. And to hype our show for a second, this is kind of what the show is. Like, Cal and I just wanted to do something fun because we like hanging out and we want to do a comedy show, and this is a funny premise. But also, it is sort of a scientific experiment in the sense that, like, my reaction to that versus your reaction to that was the story. You know what I mean? Like, these kind of things that you would have never thought about where my brain just goes automatically to the political take. Yeah. It's like, that's kind of important.
Yeah. And here's the other scientific result here. Look surrounding this story. So this is a good news story. Nuclear fusion is the good type of nuclear stuff. So the only waste products, there's no nuclear radiation. The waste product is like water, right? Okay. And so I think this breakthrough, because I've followed this story otherwise, is up until now, you had to put more energy into creating fusion than energy that came out. For the first time in a lab, they got it reversed. So, like, this would be a miracle, completely clean energy where basically you can turn water into enough energy to power a city. But look at
by the way, do you think that was the headline? Do you think that was at the top of CNN, or how far did we have to click down to make
Well, okay, I'm going to click on CNN here. We're going to find out. But even before we get that, we have a political ad up top and then more from CNN. These are the articles that their algorithm thinks we should look at next after reading about
related.
fusion. Yes.
Yeah.
Lindsay Perlman, television actress, found dead after being reported missing, and missing pregnant Arkansas mom and baby found dead in Missouri after ... I mean, if they were killed in a fusion reaction, I would get it, but I think this tells us something deeper.
Yeah. I mean, CNN might as well say, hey, you thought you were happy? Well, because again, what gets clicks? What makes money? Fear. It's fear, right?
Here's US CNN homepage. All good news. Let's see. U.S. to send Patriot missile defense system to Ukraine. House GOP divided.
So we might go to war with Russia.
Right. Actually,
House GOP divided over whether McCarthy should give in on motion to vacate.
I don't know what that means. There's a sense that Trump is approaching a moment of maximum legal power. The CNN, from what I understand, CNN is making a centrist turn. This is their new thing. Post Trump,
they're firing everyone. They're losing so much money. I mean,
this pretty boring.
Article that you picked out was pretty good, and then you just literally see Trump, like a picture of Trump with like the maniacal cartoon villain hands.
Yeah, but I think CNN of 2 years ago, under that picture of Trump, wouldn't the headline have been something like "Trump close to murdering your child"? Right. And then there'd be like a photo of your child that they somehow grabbed. So like this is way more. He's approaching a moment of maximum legal peril. This is all right. So CNN, I think, is taking a turn towards centrism. That's smart, by the way, because they can grab all these disaffected independent viewers. They can grab them. I think there's ratings. So
100%. That's what everyone should be doing right now.
All right, here we go. So that was good. That was good internet. I mean, we thought CNN's site.
Yep.
But that article, that was trending. Jesse put that in there because it was trending on the internet.
Article good. Jamie's reaction bad.
Yeah. All right. You got to pick it up, Tom McCuck. All right, let's see what we got next. Ooh, geez. All right, here we go. Clicking share. I see these moments before you do, so I have a little bit of a head start here.
Okay, that's right.
Chrome tab. All right. What is trending on TikTok?
Oh, boy.
In the first week of December. I'm just going to load up. I'm going to put up the first video here. Let's just watch it. Here we go. It's playing.
Okay.
This is trending on TikTok. All right. There's two people in suits that are dancing. With their,
that's kind of what we expect from TikTok.
A lot of their hands.
Yep.
That's it. All right. So why is this very popular? I mean, I'm going to guess that somehow those hand motions are encoding the location of a pirate treasure. Like that's my best guess for why 1 million people just watch that. But you know TikTok better.
So I don't. But I was TikTok famous last week. You'll actually be very proud of this. So I refused to get on TikTok. And I told my podcast team, I have a podcast called Advice Not Taken, mental health comedy podcast. I told my team, hey, I don't want to be on TikTok. If you guys want to run a TikTok account for the show, go for it. And I'm pretty sure that TikTok account, which is like 3 weeks old, already has more followers than I do on Instagram.
This is clips from the show?
It's just clips from the show.
Yeah, okay.
And I tried to download TikTok. A 24-year-old girl showed it to me. And, dude, if you think the hits your brain's getting on Instagram and Twitter is bad, I mean, it's just noise, loud, dance, new. Like, I don't see how your brain can ever focus on anything again if you have a TikTok account. But where I'm proud, and I kind of feel like I subverted TikTok,
right,
is the clip of mine that went viral. It was nothing about me talking about mental health or comedy, or I went on some like porn rant. Nothing like that. Nothing with sex, whatever. I had... I've been having a bunch of like Green Berets and Navy SEALs on the show, and I had just this like grizzled old 40-year-old named Dr. Mike Simpson, just as like conservative ex Green Beret, and we were talking about mutual combat and how in Texas, if me and you were fighting at a bar, I can just go mutual combat and declare it, and then we can go out in the street and we can scrap legally. And so it's just me laughing hysterically about how excited I am. And something happened. My producers think it's because somehow it hit the Joe Rogan algorithm, which makes sense if you're talking about mutual combat. So somehow someone used the hashtag powerful. and it got up to 3 million hits. But my favorite, and thank God, especially you knowing me, that I don't have a TikTok because I wasn't monitoring it. I didn't see any reactions. Just a week later, they were like, hey, you're like trending. And I started to get like recognized. But what was crazy is it reached so outside my demographic where I went to a Starbucks and this young hipster, like must be like 18, 19.
Wait, hold on. There we go. I'm playing your video, by the way. The sound just started.
Yeah.
While you're talking.
No, play it.
There we go. This is it, right?
Yeah, this is it. Oh, well, that's the reposted version from mine. So that one's not the blown up one.
But that's the grizzled guy down there.
Yeah. Advice Not Taken Pod is the one that blew up.
Okay.
So it's just this like dude who just looks like his shirt should say "Get off my lawn," just being like, "Yeah, you can go fight people," and people loved it.
Interesting. So yeah. So what were you saying? You're saying there was effects. So there was when you trend on TikTok, there's effects beyond just like that number goes up. Like you're starting to notice things.
Here's what's messed up though. If someone recognizes me because they saw me on like Glenn Beck's show or they know my comedy, they'll go, hey, you're Jamie Kilstein, right?
Yeah.
What was so interesting about this, so like 18, 19-year-old girl, hipster girl, we would have nothing in common. She just goes, I saw you on my TikTok.
Interesting.
So it's less of a like famous personality thing. She doesn't know what I do. It's just, oh, you did a thing that happened to get you famous on TikTok for a day. Like, I know it would be like if, you were on a sitcom and I was like, hey, I know you from Law and Order. It's like, I know you from TikTok. Not who are you, not what do you do, but just I saw you on, that's it. That's as far as it goes.
Is the virality potential of TikTok number one among all these platforms right now? Like 3 million.
That's what I've heard. I heard
that's hard.
I heard it's the easiest to go viral on, but also, and by the way, there are like TikTok comedians who are crushing it right now. Yeah. But I also know guys who have gone viral and there's no traction. They're not selling out rooms or whatever. So like me, I went viral with one video. That one video will go, hey, I get you. I know you from TikTok. But I would need like many of those hitting 2-3 million, whatever.
Yeah. Do you buy my argument? So this is what I say about everything we talk about is I wrote something about this for the New Yorker.
That's
but
great.
I wrote a New Yorker piece on TikTok and its role in social media, etc. Do you buy this take? So my take is TikTok is pure entertainment, right? So unlike Twitter, unlike Instagram, unlike Facebook, which really heavily leverages social networks that people have painstakingly entered into their service. That's at the key of how they serve up content. TikTok's pure algorithm. You don't have to click on any follow. You don't have to click on any friends. It just shows you things until it figures out what you would like. Yeah. My argument was that gives it obviously the potential to be very popular because it can go straight to your brainstem, but also makes it very perhaps fleeting. Like no one's invested in it. It's just, this is really interesting. So if something else that comes along really interesting, you just jump over to that. So my argument is like your highs get higher with this purely algorithmic, pure entertainment put in my veins model, but your longevity is like greatly shortened. So like 2 years from now, TikTok might be gone, and there'll be 3 other things that are. I mean, I think in the end, it's going to be flashing lights and ASMR.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
it's going to be like a naked breast and ASMR or something. Like, eventually, you're going to that's it, right? So that's I don't know if you buy that argument, but it seems
slowly turning into like when you just put a laser on a wall for a cat.
Yeah.
That's what all of this is making us.
That's
it. Well, look, that's what happened to me, right? I wasn't a person. I saw you on the TikTok.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, you're kind of right. But man, it seems like the heroin to weed. Like it just seems so much more addictive. Yep. Like when I saw these girls on, anytime you hear someone and their volumes on in a coffee shop like an animal, it's TikTok. It's just like, it's like they have no control and they can't stop. And there's so much coming at them that it's the only thing I would add is if it's going to go away, you're going to have to like fight it out of their hands because I feel like it is so addictive. That's one of the reasons I was like, nope. The same reason I never did Coke. I was like, I see where this is going. Not good.
Yeah. I think the weed like meth analogy is probably apt because like what you and I do, like podcasting, where there's like download numbers and, you know, YouTube and podcasting are really intertwined. So you can also see like how many people are watching the podcast. There's an element of that, of like, I like the feedback. I like that people are hearing about me, but it's mellow. You know, it's like kind of mellow. It's hard to build a podcast audience. It goes slow. And this is maybe self-serving, but it always seems to me when people get to know you through a podcast, it's like, Jamie, I really know you. Like your fans who listen to your show are like, I feel like you're my best friend. No one who sees you on TikTok a bunch of times is going to say like, I feel like I really know your soul. It's like, no, I've seen you like move in sort of laser on the wall, interesting type of ways. So like podcasters, we always self-justify and say, our audience is hard won. And when we win an audience member, it's like a relationship. It's asymmetric, but it's like a relationship. Like
and
they
they're
really know
respectful.
you.
Yeah. Where so many times when I meet like a hardcore listener of like Advice Not Taken, they'll come up and they're like, hey, I know this is weird, but like, I'm just like really proud of you. Because it's like, oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They know all of my ups and downs and whatever. And sometimes it's jarring. You know, sometimes they're like, how's the dog? And you're like, well, how do you know about my dog? And like, get ready to draw. But like, yeah, man, I think it's so much more authentic. And so because of that, because the platform itself is more authentic, the more authentic the platform, the more authentic the response. Yeah. It's why on Twitter, people can just blast you and then never think of you again and never be like, oh, maybe I ruined that guy's life or day or whatever, because that's what the platform offers.
I think that's a great feature of podcasting. It's very hard to send a negative feedback. Like we can do like post a negative Apple podcast. I think that dynamic is like some people email you or whatever, but I like that about it. I also like that it's, and we're so self-serving here, by the way. Like this is like, we're just patting ourselves on the back so hard. Like this is just like Jamie and I, like we're so awesome and TikTok's bad. But it is the other self-serving attribute I will point out about podcasting is like my podcast. There's some like rickety hosting service, one of thousands that host it. There's no like weird Chinese run, whatever that is taking all the data to aim killer bees at the youth of America, or whatever. You know what I mean? It's distributed. It's rickety. It's like, hey, if you want to subscribe to my feed, it's like blogs used to be. The stuff's out there and your player can go and find it. But, you know, I'm on some like random server somewhere and I could move my podcast to 20 other servers and it would change no one's experience. I love that distributed aspect. You sell your own ads. Like you don't have this like massive, it's like Google is selling all your ads for you. And that makes a big difference. It's why, for example, Tim Ferriss is like by far, I think the highest paid per user ad revenue podcaster out there, because he's built this relationship with this audience where they really trust this guy. So advertisers, and they just sell their own ad. Advertisers like, you reading an ad is worth so much to us. And you don't get that if it's like, look, I'm getting a cut of my YouTube video of these Hershey Kisses ads that are being automatically played, or BH photo ads. So I don't know. So I think our conclusion here, Jamie, is that like
I hope Christopher Nolan didn't hear your killer bee pitch. Yes, that's my.
He would do that if that would help him get like better light for one of his shots. He would be, and I'm not speaking out of school. I think this is just accurate. He would sanction the death of thousands of children due to killer bees if it gave him better light. All right, we got one more. Let's see. This is gonna be good Twitter or good internet or bad internet.
We'll make this tight.
All right, here we go.
Twitter.
All right, I'll read this. So it's a tweet being react. Look at that. By the way, can I again just point out how like ugly of an? Look at this thing. This is crazy. Like the internet.
So bad.
There's such beautiful interfaces out there. And okay, this is like for people who aren't really watching, it's so ugly. There's an original tweet here that says, Elon Musk just got booed like I've never heard before on stage with Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock. He couldn't get a word in. The crowd booed for 10 minutes. Not favored on his home turf. He looks stunned. Must not get enough feedback in real life. And then this is it's the term quote tweeted. Someone else like is commenting on that tweet. Someone named Stephen Goffman. It says over here on the side, he's a free agent, former Washington Post audio. I don't know what that means. He says, turns out Twitter can in fact be real life. So I don't know. There's some sort of like, this has everything. It has like a cultural meme, a bad guy, a Twitter burn. Like this is like a this is the canonical example of Twitter at its best, right? Like,
and this was like
pure Twitter.
This was a day ago, and it had 50.6 likes. I'm sorry, 50.6 thousand likes, 3,602 quote tweets, 12.4 thousand retweets. People were like, "Ha ha."
Do you know this story? So what do you think is going on here? Have you heard this, or are you guessing?
Well, it reminds me of when MySpace Tom was booed off stage at a Gallagher 2 concert in Des Moines in the early aughts.
It's immediately what came to mind.
Yeah,
Gallagher Gate. Yeah.
Can that be our first? I think that our 2 pieces of show merch so far, and guys, write in if you got other ideas. Tomacuck and Gallagher Gate, and then we'll just make up a year. I think we got our merch already.
We got it. Oh yeah.
Well, we figured out the internet. Yeah, I saw. Every time I see people going hard on Chappelle, I just I go away.
Do you know him at all? You're in Austin. He's not in Austin. He's in Ohio, but he was in Austin. So what do you know about Chappelle?
So my early here's what whenever I go on a show and I'm asked about Chappelle.
Yeah.
I say a version of this, right?
Okay.
This is I wrote for the New Yorker, except it's like when some right-wing podcast had me on as a disaffected liberal. So my thing with Chappelle is when I was coming up, it was under the Bush administration. It was the height of Chappelle's show. It was right before he left for Africa. And he was stopping by the club I was working almost every night. And he would perform in front of like 30 people, and people went nuts. They went nuts. He was like the most famous guy in the world. The club was by NYU, so it was a ton of college kids. And he had a bodyguard. It was the first time I ever saw a comedian with a bodyguard.
Is this the Comedy Cellar? What?
It was the Comedy Cellar, and there was a club called the Boston Comedy Club around the corner from that.
By the way, here's a complete insider reference that only Jamie Kilstein will understand. I spent a fair amount of time at the Comedy Cellar because our mutual friend Christopher Burns went to NYU. And so when I go to visit him, we would often go down there. So there we go. Anyways.
God, you're the only... I got to see more people eventually. Anyway, so the material he was doing is like... would be... I mean, just the most left-wing, anti-establishment. He had an anti-war bit that like almost brought me to tears. His stuff about racial justice. The right did not like him.
Interesting.
And nowadays, Dave Chappelle puts out a special, and the only pundit who's like, this Dave Chappelle guy, it's like Ben Shapiro. And something happens. I think a little Elon Musk stuff is happening right now. Something happens with a comic. The reason I never said Dave was transphobic is because something just happens with a comedian. When your world is comedy, when your world is, my goal is to say the thing you're not supposed to say and say it in such a funny way that it gets people to laugh who shouldn't laugh, then anytime you're told not to say something, you have to find a way to work it in. And then I think what happened was a little bit of what happens to a lot of people on the left, is he kept trying to do it right and talk about it right and just be a comedian. And no matter what he did, they would just attack. You're a transphobe. You're a bigot. You know, he tells a story about his trans friend who committed suicide. That wasn't enough. You hate trans people. And so, honestly, I think he's just kind of checked out. And it's just like, screw you guys.
Right.
I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to push the boundaries. What's going to piss him off even more? Elon Musk. And look, I saw a lot of comedians I really respect who they were like, Dave Chappelle's done. This is it. You know, someone I saw who I really like said, you know, when you bring, maybe that wasn't a person I liked, but someone said something like, when you bring a billionaire on stage to like make fun of poor people, that's like the lowest kind of comedy, whatever. I don't know what they were going for. I didn't see video of it actually happening. That was another thing people said, is they were like, I saw some people on the right saying, you know, left-wing Dave Chappelle's audience is booing. And then I saw some people on the left being like, even Dave Chappelle, who they consider a super right-wing guy now, is getting booed at a right-wing show. So now they consider Dave Chappelle just straight right-wing. Yeah, let's look at some of the
I'm looking at comments here. It's all really well reasoned and polite. So
good.
There we go.
When they start calling him Elmo, is that a new thing?
I don't know. Let's see here. Dave Chappelle turning into a groveling lapdog of conservative white people is one of the all-time falls from grace. Let's see here. Very nice, Steve. Maybe one day you'll have a viral tweet. There's a soccer player doing fake crying. So is that, maybe that's people who are, man, this is complicated. And why
is this quote
this comedian in quotes? Yeah. If that's
you don't
what
get
he
to
is.
do that to Dave Chappelle. You can do that if you just show up at a comedy club and you get offended and you go, this so-called comedian. But if you're going to Karen Dave Chappelle and pretend he's a comedian, like Dave Chappelle's one of the greatest comics.
So if you're one of these people, like, so specific content aside, if you're one of these people writing these comments, right? So it's not even your original tweet, but you're typing. And some of these people are like pro Chappelle, some are anti Chappelle. What's the point here? Like, is it, do you imagine like this audience is like listening? By the way, I really appreciate that. I know this clip. There's a Simpsons clip. I don't have to listen to it. This is definitely the Boo Earns clip from the film festival episode where he's like, I believe they're saying Boo Earns. And then he stands up and says, were you saying Boo or Boo Earns? They throw stuff. And then they cut to Hans Moleman saying, I was saying Boo Earns. Like, that's good internet is hidden within this bad internet example.
Yes.
Simpsons memes. I am all for it. I'm there for that every day.
That's how we end the show.
That's how. So, okay, I don't know. Here's the thing that depresses me. I don't know about what's actually happening here. All I know is, regardless of whatever happened here, this is like classic Twitter. If you have
Nothing's
something,
going to change.
This is like pure tribal.
Elon's not going to change. Dave Chappelle's not going to change. You literally just spent a morning yelling at strangers instead of being with your children.
Yeah. So like the tweet, I see why that took off, because it's like a gotcha. That seems to be like what a lot of Twitter is tribes looking for gotchas on the other side. The thing that's catching my attention is all of these people who are like commenting on this. My only guess is Twitter must give you this illusion that, like, when you're typing, I always imagine that regardless of what you're saying or what side you're on, that there's this like self-satisfied smile on your face. You're kind of nodding your head like, yeah, this will show them. And you hit send, and in your mind, like, all these people are like, whoa.
And you're like, we got him, boys.
We got him. Like, everyone's high-fiving, like pulling out cigars, like your friends from your tribe are like coming in and like, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. You've done good. You've done good. Meanwhile, you're right. Your kids are like, Daddy, can we throw the ball around? You're like, hold on, I'm going to get retweeted.
And you're like, why are all my relationships crumbling?
Yeah. So that's a depressing place to end it, except for the Hans Moleman.
Look,
if that's the price we have to pay for a wider dissemination of Hans Moleman themed Simpson memes, maybe that's the price we have to pay.
I'll take it. Guys, if you're trying to get off social media like I am, like Hal makes some very good reasons to in places like the New Yorker, and all of his books, which you can pick up still if you don't have them. Listen to us. We're going to do this every week. We're going to wrap it up for you. Or you can just scream at the computer while Cal and I bumble through the takes you absolutely disagree with.
And if you do disagree, talk to Jamie, which is a good chance to say, Jamie, tell us all of the what are the Jamie happenings and how do people find you?
Yeah, once again, I always feel awkward promoting my social media when I talk to you. So instead, I'm just going to
shake my. You can promote it, but I'm just going to shake my head in disappointment while you do so. All right, go ahead.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Mainly Instagram. Instagram is my happy place, but I'm shadow banned there. Guys, I have a podcast. It's called Advice Not Taken. It's about me being really good at advice, even though I don't take it all myself. It's a non-pretentious self-help comedy podcast where we talk a lot about mental health. We've had people like Tim Kennedy on. Dr. Drew's going to come on. Duncan Trussell. Cal's going to come on. So you can just go to JamieKilsteinPodcast.com or look up Advice Not Taken on Spotify or iTunes. It's a new podcast. We're 12 episodes in, so you can still be a hipster and be on like the frontier of it. And that's the main thing.
All right. And you can find my podcast, Deep Questions with Cal Newport, where I take questions from my audience about the struggle to live a deeper life amid all these distractions. Find that wherever. Also have an email newsletter at calnewport.com, wrote a bunch of books. You can find me in the New Yorker, etc. All right, Jamie, I think it was successful. So let's wrap this up, but we will be back soon with new, I guess, examples of the internet that we will explain to you.
Yes.
We'll be back next week. Though we're recording this like right before the Christmas holiday. So like we've just made our life really hard, but we'll figure it out. All right, everyone, we'll be back. Keep watching out for it. See y'all.